Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I am filming a very highly requested video, and I know you guys loved the last video I did like this, so I am doing an updated version of what I'm not selling anymore on Poshmark. So this is basically a list of 20 brands that I am no longer selling on Poshmark and I am passing on at the thrift store. And what I'm gonna do today is actually I'm gonna go over all the brands as well as an exception to the brand. So for example, if there's a brand that I would pass on, I'm gonna give you an exception to why I would still purchase that brand, if that makes sense. So this is a list of brands I have in the past purchased, but I probably will be passing on now just because of popularity and things like that. So if that sounds interesting, then just keep watching. Okay, so first up, this is kind of going off of something that I did mention in my first video, but I will no longer be picking up Michael Kors apparel. So I've been really picky with Michael Kors as of the last few years. I am really selective with the bags. I still tend to pick up the shoes, but as I mentioned in my last video, I'm really particular about the heels. I feel like the flats and the sneakers do much better for me. So I will pick up the footwear and some of the shoes, but I will not be picking up Michael Kors apparel anymore. The reason for this is mainly that it just does not move for me. I've noticed at a lot of discount places, they're selling Michael Kors for extremely cheap. I think part of the reason for this is because Michael Kors has a huge reach, so they're sold in a variety of retailers. There's just so much Michael Kors in the world. So for me, I am gonna be passing on Michael Kors apparel. The only exception to this would be if it was new with tags, dirt cheap, and basically perfect looking. I mean, I don't know how to describe it other than that. If it were a perfect piece, perfectly on trend, and it was new with tags and I could get it for under $5, I might consider picking it up, but really, it's extremely hard for me to move, which is sad because back in the day, I absolutely loved Michael Kors. So number one is Michael Kors apparel. Okay, so next up for number two, this is another one that makes me very sad, but for the most part, I'm going to be passing on Choix. I have showed this in many hauls. I talk about it on Instagram, and in the past, I have sold it for quite a bit of money. It retails for a ton. It is extremely expensive retail. It is definitely made out of good luxury quality materials, but Choix basics such as silk blouses and just the t-shirts and things like that, I cannot give them away. I'm talking for $20 or less, I cannot get rid of Choix. So the only exception to this would be if it was new with tags and a knitwear piece. So if it were a knitwear piece or maybe a maxi dress and it was new with tags, I would consider picking it up. But in my opinion, those basics are just so hard to move. They sit forever for me, and that is so sad because Choix is an amazing brand. So sadly, I will be passing on those pieces. All right, moving on to number three is Trina Turk, which Trina Turk has been doing pretty poorly for me for a while. I haven't been picking up her apparel in a very long time just because it sits and sits. It's a very, very expensive brand, and I actually find some of her pieces to be very cute, but for some reason in the resale world, it is very hard to move. The only exception to this would be swimwear and or resort wear pieces. So her one-piece swimsuits do really, really well for me. I wouldn't say bikinis. I probably will always pass on the bikinis as well, but her one-piece swimsuits have a very good following, so I do pick those up, but the dresses, pants, or anything like that, I will not pick up even new with tags unless it was like $1 or something, but I really probably would not pick those up in any case just because even the really great looking pieces and new with tags pieces that I've had listed sit for 6+ months. So the only exception to that would be swimwear, but unfortunately I will be passing on Trina Turk. Okay, so next up, you guys are not gonna be surprised by this one because it was also mentioned in my first video like this, but I have updated my opinion on this and I will no longer be selling Lularoe of any kind. Not the Sarah cardigans, not the maxi dresses, not the Amelias. Absolutely none of this stuff is coming into my Poshmark closet. The only exception to that would be if it is a size 3X. Otherwise, I will not be picking it up, and even then, I'm probably still gonna be leaving that stuff behind because as of lately, I can't even give the Sarahs away for $20, and Sarahs used to sell consistently for me for about $40. Sarahs are the longer duster cardigans, and those were doing really well for me for a while, as well as the Amelias and the Anna dresses, but as of late, I will no longer be picking up Lularoe, and in the last month alone, I have probably left 50+ pieces of Lularoe behind at the thrift store because I cannot give this stuff away, guys. And I like Lularoe. I mean, company-wise, a little bit sketchy, but my personal opinion about the product is that it's really comfortable. I really like their leggings, but again, cannot give it away, cannot in any style, print, color, give this stuff away. So Lularoe is being marked off the list. Okay, next up for number 5, I'm also super sad about this because this is something I used to pick up for bread and butter all the time, and it is just not moving for me even at my absolute lowest price point. I will no longer be picking up J. Crew Factory. And I will say I'm still picking up mainline J. Crew a lot. I pick it up in blazers, suiting dresses, coats, shoes, more substantial pieces I still pick up from J. Crew. That sells very well for me. But J. Crew Factory, even new with tags, is very hard for me to sell. It sits for a very long time, and I noticed that when I have clearance sales, it's always a bunch of J. Crew Factory pieces. And I think because J. Crew Factory has so many sales and the stuff gets so cheap in store, there's really no need to buy it secondhand, if that makes sense. So J. Crew Factory is something that sadly I will always be leaving behind. The only exception again would be is if it is a very substantial piece, it's new with tags, and I can get it for $1. But again, probably still won't be picking those pieces up. All right, so next up for number 6, you guys are probably gonna be kind of surprised by this one, but I will no longer be selling North Face. And there's a reason for this, and that is that I feel like Patagonia has really taken over the North Face whole situation. I feel like people prefer Patagonia almost every time over North Face. Patagonia sells lightning fast for me. I can't keep it in my store, but North Face sits and it really isn't selling for very much. I mean, most of the jackets, if you look up comps on Poshmark, are really going for around $20 to $30 maximum. The only exception for me on this one would be a very substantial like down puffer coat or something that's insulated or something like that. But as far as the fleece jackets, the hooded jackets, hoodies, anything with the North Face logo on it is just probably gonna be a no for me. It does not sell well for me. It does not sell quickly for me, so I will no longer be selling North Face also. Okay, so my next brand is another one you guys might be surprised by, and I also think a lot of you guys are gonna disagree with me on this one, but I will no longer be picking up Alice & Olivia, which I feel like I have to make several exceptions to this because there are a few things that I would still pick up from this brand, especially some of the more intricate embroidered pieces by Alice & Olivia. I would still consider picking those up. I think this brand is really pretty, but for some reason the resale value on it for me personally has been really bad, and these pieces sit for a very long time, even new with tags for me. I'm not sure why. I don't know if Alice & Olivia is just hard for resale or what, but for some reason Alice & Olivia is not something that I can sell. So I will pick these up occasionally if there is a very good quality piece and I'm willing to sit on it, but again, Alice & Olivia takes months and months and months for me to sell. So I will be passing on Alice & Olivia. Okay, so next up is another one that you guys might have better luck with than I do, but for whatever reason, I cannot sell 7 For All Mankind jeans of any kind. Not dojos, which everyone's always ranting and raving about dojo jeans, but for me, dojos don't sell. None of the flared leg, none of the 7 For All Mankind embellished pocket jeans do well for me. The only exception to this would be if it is a very current style and it is in brand new condition. Those are really the only 2 exceptions, but even then, I see 7 For All Mankind all the time in the thrift store and I always leave it behind just because it does not sell for me. I also don't really like most of the styles that they're producing. Some of the more current ones are doing okay, but for me personally, I cannot sell dojos at all. You guys are way better than me in that category because I cannot give those things away. So dojos are a no for me, and just generally any jeans by 7 For All Mankind. Okay, the next one, you guys are gonna laugh because you always are disagreeing with me about this brand, and I have been proven wrong once again because I will no longer be selling Loft. And I know I've been on the Loft train for a very long time. I have been talking about this brand and how it still sells for me and how they're still making cute styles and all these things, but as of the last year in 2018, I could not give away Loft, and it has officially hit my closet as well. I know that some people are still selling it, but for me personally, Loft is officially died out. I don't know why. Rest in peace to Loft, because I love Loft personally. I wear Loft a lot and I think that they make great stuff, but cannot give it away. I think it's another one of those situations where it is mass produced and it's everywhere, and so the odds of finding the exact same piece for cheaper or at the thrift store is very high. So again, rest in peace to Loft, but I will no longer be selling Loft unless, again, same situation as always. If it's new with tags and it's dirt cheap, I'll consider it. All right, the next one, a lot of you guys may have not heard of, or if you have heard of it, it's probably been on my Instagram stories or maybe in a previous haul, but the next brand is Lauren James, which is a Southern, very preppy brand, and it's actually based out of Arkansas, so it's very popular in my area, as well in surrounding states. So like when I do sell this brand, it is sold to primarily people in the South, in the Carolinas, and in my area, a lot of times to Texas as well, but Lauren James used to be something that I could really sell well. It was selling for consistently $50+ I had a lot of Lauren James dresses just because their headquarters are also in my area, so I was able to find a lot of this product. But as of the last 6 months, I cannot get rid of this stuff. I mean, I don't know what happened to the market for them or if it just has kind of lost its appeal, but the dresses and the swimwear, I will no longer be picking up this brand at all. I really can't think of an exception for this one because I just won't be picking it up anymore. And that's pretty sad because I do find this stuff to be super cute. So no longer picking up Lauren James. All right, so brand number 11 is Rebecca Taylor, which is another brand that sells for extremely high prices retail. So I actually used to work with a boutique that has the rights to carry Rebecca Taylor in my town, and some of her dresses and jumpsuits are $400+ retail, and I personally know people who pay the retail price for this stuff. So Rebecca Taylor, really good luxury brand, extremely expensive, but in resale, for whatever reason, I cannot get rid of it. In my Poshmark closet, it sits for 6+ months. Most of the time, it doesn't get a lot of attention, and the pieces that I am able to sell take, you know, close to 6 months or more to sell. So again, Rebecca Taylor is a super nice brand. I think that the quality is really great, but for some reason in the resale world, for me personally, Rebecca Taylor is super hard to move. The only exception to this would be, again, if it was a very substantial piece, new with tags, and very inexpensive, I would consider listing it and just waiting for it to sell. Okay, so next up, I know a lot of you guys are gonna disagree with me on this. Please don't come for me. This is just my opinion. If you still sell this brand, by all means, with all of these brands, if these things are making you money, please do not take this to heart. Please do whatever makes you the most money. But for me, number 12, wait for it, is Lilly Pulitzer. Okay, I know, very controversial. Most people love this brand. I personally love Lilly, but anything that is not current season, I cannot sell. So again, the exception to that would be if it is very current season, or I've actually noticed that the athleisure pieces by Lilly and the more current prints are doing really well. So I actually listed 2 pairs of pants that were like the athleisure style. So one was an athletic legging and one was a velour pant. And those both sold within the week. So there are exceptions to this, of course, but for me, the older style Lilly, anything that is older than like a year or 2, for whatever reason, I think it's just not as collectible, I guess you could say. So I'm including Lilly in this list. No offense to Lilly, no offense to Lilly lovers, because I also am a big fan, but for whatever reason, it is very hard for me to sell. Okay, so next up for number 13 is True Religion Jeans, which this goes right along with Seven for All Mankind. I think both of these brands were very popular in the early 2000s, and their brand recognition and their popularity has kind of died out a little bit. I have not personally picked up Seven for All Mankind or True Religion Jeans in an extremely long time. I have 2 pairs listed right now, one of which is Seven for All Mankind and one of which is True Religion. Both have gotten little to no action. So again, one of those things that I think has just kind of lost its popularity, and I just don't feel like they're making as much trendy, popular styles. So that is definitely my reason for it. And I do think that even if you can sell them, they're really not selling for a great price point anymore. So number 13 is True Religion. Okay, so my next brand for number 14 is Vince Camuto, and you guys know that I absolutely love Vince Camuto shoes and footwear and boots. So don't get me wrong, I'm still selling Vince Camuto all the time as far as footwear, and that's really what they're mostly known for, is footwear. But as far as apparel, I will be passing on all of the apparel from now on. The only exception would be, again, as always, if it's a substantial piece, new with tags, and very cheap, I will consider picking it up. But most of the styles I feel like are getting a little bit dated, so a lot of the scuba dresses just aren't selling the way that they used to. And again, Vince Camuto has a very wide reach, so they're sold in a lot of variety of retailers, and they are usually put on sale pretty cheap. So I am having a very hard time moving these items. A couple of years ago, I would say Vince Camuto was a pretty hot seller for me. I was able to sell the dresses for a pretty good margin. but anymore, especially at like Nordstrom Rack and TJ Maxx and things like that, Vince Camuto is typically very inexpensive, so I will be passing on picking it up from now on. Okay, and next up for number 15 is Lucky Brand Apparel, and I do still pick up shoes and footwear from Lucky Brand, and those do very well for me on Poshmark. But Lucky Brand Apparel is another brand that is very widespread. It's in a lot of a variety of different retailers, as well as department stores and discount retailers. So Lucky Brand is something that you can typically find on pretty deep discount. And I also think that some Lucky Brand basics are just a little bit too basic for my closet, if that makes sense, and a little bit too casual, and so I find that those are very hard for me to move, even new with tags. Again, an exception would be a very substantial piece with a lot of embroidery or a leather jacket or a lot of their more quality luxury goods I would consider picking up, but as far as Lucky Brand basics and most of the denim, I would probably pass on. All right, so next up for number 16 is Donald J Pliner, which a lot of you guys are probably familiar with this footwear line because it has been around since the 80s and 90s. My mom used to be obsessed with Donald J Pliner, and almost all of her shoes were by this brand. And I think in the 90s, this was a very popular brand, and still to this day, they make very high quality shoes. I mean, most of their shoes retail for $200+, and they're made out of really good quality materials, and they're also making some really good trends. But the resale value and the popularity of the brand, I think, is the biggest problem for me. So I love seeing and picking up and looking at Donald Pliner shoes, and I would personally wear these items, but for whatever reason, I just don't think the brand has as much of a following as it used to, and I don't think they've had as much of a trendy marketing effort. So I really think that's most of the problem. I don't think that it's a quality issue. I don't think that it's anything like that. I just find that this brand sits for a really long time, and I have a very hard time moving it. Okay, next up for number 17, this is another one you guys are gonna be very upset by, I know, and I definitely have to clarify this one, but number 17 is Anthropology and Free People Basics. Now, I will say, don't get me wrong, I still absolutely love Anthropology and Free People. They're two of my best-selling brands. However, most of their pieces are, again, in a lot of different retailers and are even in the discount retailers. So the more basic pieces and the pieces that are very widespread, so if they had a very broad range of distribution, then that's something that I would pass on. I hope that makes sense, but basically anything that I've been seeing a lot of, or if you look it up on Poshmark and there are 60+ listings of the same item of Anthropology or Free People, I will be passing on, as well as like the t-shirts, most of the Henleys, and anything that's just a more basic style, I will be passing on those. They have been sitting for a very, very long time for me, especially in the last couple of years. Anthropology has really been picked up in popularity on Poshmark, mostly because I feel like a lot of resellers are familiar with the brands now. So Anthropology and Free People, I absolutely love. I pick up their substantial pieces all the time. I sell dresses, jackets, shoes, a variety of things by these brands, and they're two of my top sellers, but I'm very specific on what kind of pieces I'm picking up from these brands because the basics do not sell for me. Okay, so next up for number 18 is Hudson Jeans, and this is another brand just like some For All Mankind or True Religion that I think really was very popular there for a while, and for me personally, I think that they have kind of lost their appeal, and there are a lot of other trending brands that I think are just picking up the traction. So again, Hudson Jeans are kind of an older style. A lot of the time when I do see Hudson Jeans, they are an older style, or they're just not really trendy, if that makes sense. They're more of a classic style. And for me, Hudson Jeans do not sell. I personally don't really pick them up at all. The only exception would be if they were new at tags, but really I'm not picking this brand up at all. I think there are a lot of other really great denim brands that I would rather pick up instead, and a lot of other brands that are making just more trendy styles. So again, Hudson Jeans I will pass on. Next up for number 19, this is another brand that I think a lot of people have been saying for a long time doesn't sell well for them, but for me personally on Poshmark, Zara is something that sells super well as far as brand recognition. This is something that sells very fast for me. The only exception to that would be Zara Basics. So actually there is a tag for Zara that says Zara Basic on it, and those pieces tend to sit for a long time for me, and most of the problem is that they don't sell for very much. So it's not really even a problem of them sitting for a long time. It's just a matter of how much can I really sell them for. So again, if it's a coat or something that is a little bit higher price point, I will still pick up Zara. I think they make really great fashionable pieces, but the problem is most of the Zara basic pieces and more of like the t-shirts and tops and things like that, I have a really hard time selling for anything over about $15. So I am gonna be more selective with the Zara pieces that I pick up. Okay, and the last one for number 20 is Millie. And I know I have heard a couple of other people mention this one, and I totally agree with them on this. Millie is definitely a very hard brand for me to move, and Millie falls into that same category with Rebecca Taylor, that this brand retails for a ton of money. It's very good quality materials, it's a very good quality brand, but again, it does not sell anywhere near the retail value, and I personally can't find it for a very good price most of the time anyways. So unless the piece is current season and it is in perfect condition or new with tags, I would probably not consider picking Millie up. It's one of those brands that is a great quality brand but sits for a very long time, as most of the brands on this list are just pieces that are very hard for me to move in a timely fashion. So number 20 is Millie. Okay, so that is my top 20 brands I will be passing on in 2019 for my Poshmark closet. And again, if any of these items are moving for you, any of these brands are your top sellers, I am totally not hating on that. If these work for you, by all means, keep picking them up and selling them. But just for me personally, I find these harder to sell. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. So if you like this video, please be sure to give this a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel down below. And I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching.